What do I have to do today?
You gotta send that email.
Oh,
No doubt you know this feeling of open loops. Your subconscious nags your conscious mind over and over again. Hey man, there's a bunch of stuff that isn't done. Over the course of a day, these open loops can sap your mental energy and rob you of the present. Why does this happen and what is it? Well, it's called the ZEIGARNIK effect, and it has some of the widest ranging implications for a person living in the modern world. Psychologist Bluma ZEIGARNIK discovered the effect studying under her mentor Kurt Lewin, one of the pioneers of applied psychology. They observed that waiters displayed an unusual ability to remember complex orders, but only until those orders were delivered. Once the plates were down on the table and their task completed, their memory of who got what disappeared. In other words, they remembered what they needed to do much better than tasks they finished. Open loop, heavy amount of recall; closed loop, very little recall at all. It makes sense. You remember an incomplete task because your brain thinks it's important, and completing that task enables you to forget about it. But that's not all ZEIGARNIK found when it came to the effect. In a further study, she discovered a strong relationship between that memory of an incomplete task and a desire for cognitive closure. That is, if there's an objective that we committed ourselves to pursue, an open loop, we're highly motivated to close that loop in order to escape the intrusive thoughts and feelings it causes. Now, these objectives can be incomplete narratives, unanswered questions, unresolved problems, or unachieved goals. You can see the effect at work everywhere. What is a cliffhanger on TV but a loop left open? You see it in clickbait headlines. They give you just enough to open a loop, which motivates you to click on the link to close the loop by obtaining the full story. Quest-based video games are designed so that your list of tasks is never done. Accept a quest, open a loop, close that loop, ad infinitum. Perhaps the worst manifestation of the effect is a breakup with unresolved issues. Your subconscious keeps reminding you to find closure, but most of the time breakups with unresolved issues go unresolved forever. And unfortunately, the ZEIGARNIK effect persists. It's most useful to know about the ZEIGARNIK effect, however, when it comes to productivity. Think of it as hacking your psychology because you know your brain wants that closure. My favorite example of hacking the effect is from famous writer Ernest Hemingway. When he wanted to be done for the day, he didn't stop writing at the end of a paragraph or a chapter. He cut himself off mid-thought. Leaving that sentence only partly done functioned as a powerful motivator for him to come back to the page the next day. I know this works because if I edit a section of a video and leave it unfinished, it will follow me, make me uncomfortable and anxious everywhere I go until I get back to it. As psychologists Roy Baumeister and Brad Bushman point out, we're most motivated to close loops on objectives we've started. So, to motivate yourself on a task, it's best to do something small first. For example, write the first sentence of an essay, no matter how good it is, just to move forward on an essay. Or put on gym clothes if you want to go to the gym. The further along in the loop, the higher the motivation to finish it. The old cliche. It follows us everywhere, doesn't it? Just start. But be careful not to open too many of these loops because it can end up overwhelming your brain. Open loops use a significant amount of your mental resources, even when you're not directly attending to them. So it's much smarter to open 2 or 3 important to-dos for the day, instead of opening 15 and paralyzing yourself. It's also why it's so important to have habits. If you can brush your teeth, meditate, and exercise on autopilot, that means you have fewer loops to open each day and fewer things burdening your brain. But even when you deliberately open fewer loops or develop habits, new loops can suddenly spring to mind in the middle of the day. This is outside your control and it gets annoying. Baumeister says the best way to manage this, and your multitude of open loops more generally, is to write everything down. Whether they're long-term, like learn guitar eventually, or if they come to mind in the moment, like send that email. Delegating open loops to paper significantly dampens the mental strain caused by the effect. In other words, the simple act of planning lets your subconscious chill out and stop intruding on your conscious mind. So, in cases where things are in your control, such as daily tasks and goals, your best course of action is, well, just to start, or at least to plan.
Just do it!
In cases where things are out of your control, like unresolved issues in a breakup, you should shout at the sky and say, "Oh, ZEIGARNIK effect, why do you make me feel like a living void?" Then realize that, unfortunately, not everything's going to have closure, and that's okay. I'll end with a more theoretical idea. If a desire for cognitive closure is one of our greatest motivators, then it may be mystery itself that holds the greatest power over the human mind. A mystery, by definition, is something that defies explanation, and without an explanation, there is no closure. Is a ZEIGARNIK effect propelling us to answer life's big questions? I don't know. But if there's an open loop, like why are we on this rock hurtling through darkness, you can be damn sure we'll try to close it.
Hey, most excellent people. This episode was brought to you by NordVPN. I've had a VPN for 3 years now. I think it's something that everyone should have. I mean, you don't even have to listen to me. Here's my friend who's an actual cybersecurity expert.
The internet is trash, and a VPN makes it smell slightly better.
I think you once said, like, if you've seen what I've seen, you'd get a VPN.
I think that's pretty true. If you've seen what I've seen, you would definitely use a VPN. So whether it's an attacker, whether it's a nation state, whether it's an advertisement company, whether it's an internet service provider, when they see that traffic that is encrypted with a VPN, it all looks the exact same. They can't determine that you're sending emails to certain people. They can't determine whether you're visiting certain websites. They can't determine whether you're sending certain messages or using different types of internet protocols, because it all goes through that tunnel, and that provides you with a substantial amount of protection against people snooping on your internet activities. And whether that's for security or whether that's for privacy, using a VPN is definitely something you should consider doing, because it is an effective tool against defending against a lot of different threat actors.
Now, you can use NordVPN across all of your devices, which is huge for public Wi-Fi use. There's no data logging, and Nord is the only VPN to get a perfect score from PC Mag. I value my privacy and security online, and I think you should too. Go to nordvpn.com/Will Schoder to get 66% off a 2-year plan. That's nordvpn.com/Will Schoder. Link is in the description. Peace.
Now, let me talk to you about 7-layered proxies, all right? Some people will say 6 proxies are enough. No, you got to have at least 7 proxies.